Hello and welcome to Easy Peasy Tutorials for CIS 1323. I'm your tutor and I will be guiding you with some of the Microsoft Access 2019 lessons. In this video, we will be looking at how to create relationships manually. Now, sometimes we know the tables are related to each other. So, for such tables, a link has to be created between them. These links are called relationships. They're used to combine data from two different tables so that your data is consistent in both the tables. Before we get to see how to create relationships manually, I want you to get back to lesson 2.16, which was adding a lookup field from another table, where we tried to get the values into one table from another table. So when we did this, Access actually went ahead and created relationships between those two tables automatically. So I'm going to show you quickly what really happens when you add a lookup field and how Access is going to create a relationship automatically between those two tables. I'm going to use the Let Me Try Live file here, which I already have opened, and I'm going to modify the appointments table customer field to a lookup field. But before we do that, I want you to look into how the relationship looks right now. So to find the relationships, always go to Database Tools tab, and you find the relationship section here. Click on relationships and bam, you have this window. This actually shows how many tables you have which are related to each other. Right now we only have one relationship here. This link here between these two tables is the relationship. Now there is no relationship between the appointments table and customers table. Let's go back to appointments table and try to modify. So I'm going to the design view and I'm trying to modify the customer to a lookup. So I would go to lookup wizard. Let's do this really quickly. I'm going to refer to different tables. So that's my first option. I am referring values from customer table. I want customer ID, first name, and my last name. Next. Sort it out by last name. Keep it ascending, say next. Add the key column, next. Enable integrity. Now when you enable integrity, it's going to add a relationship. It's going to add that link between these two tables. Let's see for ourselves. Finishing this, change the table, so I would say yes. And I'm gonna close this. Okay, and close this, save it, and then close this, and let's go back to our relationships. You see this link up here? That's what Access automatically did when you try to create a lookup field or modified a field into a lookup field. So this gets automatically done when you add a lookup field. But sometimes there are tables which are related to each other and do not have lookup fields. But you know they should be linked because we want our data to be consistent. For example, look here in the service. You have location, which has values from locations table. Now you know these are related, but you do not see a link. So this is where you have to go create a link on your own. So to create a relationship between these two tables, we will go to Edit Relationships right here in the Tool section, and an Edit Relationship window appears. So now it's asking you to select which tables you want to link together. So your first table, which is called the parent table, is going to be your location because the location's ID is going to be referred in the services table. That's why your table on the left side here is going to be locations. So this only shows the relationships that we already have here, which is the customers in appointments and appointments and services. But we need to create a new one, right? So we click on create new, and this is where we fill in the information. So as I said, your left table is your parent table, which is going to be locations. So select locations, and your column is going to be the parent key column. So that's location ID. And your right table is going to be the related table, which is services, which is actually using locations ID in its table. So your right table is services, and the column name is location. And say OK. Now it got filled here, and I'm going to say create. And we have a line which says, now these two tables are created. So this is how you successfully create a link between these two tables. But we haven't finished it yet. There is also an easy way to do this instead of filling all those table name and column name. Let me show you quickly. Let me delete this relationship first and let me show you again. You can simply drag the primary key of the parent table to your related tables field. And you see that plus sign below the pointer? That's how you know that you're pointing it to the place that you want your link to be. So if I do this, the same window appears. So it's just click, drag, and leave. And if I say create, it's still gonna give me the same result. So you can do it either the long way from relationships and create new, fill up the information and say create, or you could just drag and drop to link it. So we are halfway done, but we need to ensure the safety and the consistency of our data. So now we need to think about referential integrity. Right, so you can see it. Let's go to edit relationships again. And I want to edit relationship location, which is from the locations table to services table with locations ID and location field. Now you see this box here. This is what I'm talking about, enforcing referential integrity. Do not get puzzled by this complex term. It only means that you are going to stop accidental deletion or changing your data. This is very important. It keeps your data intact and consistent on both the tables. So that's why we need to enforce the safety for both the tables to be consistent with their data. So let's do that. Remember, you can only enforce referential integrity if you have a link between the two tables. If you do not have a link, there is no point of even thinking about enforcing referential integrity. Another way to open the edit relationships window is by double-clicking the line, the link between the two tables, and because you want to edit them. See? This is easy one. I prefer to do this, but you should know that there's also a longer way to do it. Do not forget. Check on referential integrity. I'm enforcing it so my data is consistent and safe, and say OK. Wow. So can you notice this tiny little one and tiny little infinity symbol appearing up here? This is what ensures that we have enforced our referential integrity for both these tables' relationship. And this means that you cannot accidentally add, change, or delete any records from either of the tables. So this is how you create a relationship between two tables manually. I hope this tutorial was helpful and made things easier to understand. Keep practicing, do not give up. I know you can do it. Bye for now, and I will see you in another tutorial.